Hey, I thought I'd do a quick port review for the Switch version of the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle. Overall, my experience has been pretty much great. There's really only one issue that a lot of people have been reporting. I saw some people talking about this in the Brawlers Avenue Discord. So I'm going to go over the good stuff first. The games run great. As far as I know, they are arcade perfect. I'm not enough of an expert to notice every, minute detail, but I did play through Battle Circuit in its entirety, and it was a pretty pleasant experience. I also used my left D-pad Joy-Con, kind of enhanced experience. Definitely helps quite a bit, but you can also hook up a stick to this too, if you have an adapter. I've talked about my adapter in length before. So, if there's one negative thing about this version, is that there's not really a whole lot of extra features. You can pretty much just use the arcade dip switches and that's it. There's no cool stuff like the D&D remaster they did a couple years ago where they had a whole bunch of extra stuff that you could unlock and different ways to play the game. It doesn't have anything like that, so it's pretty much a by the numbers port. So you can choose the version of the game. Sometimes that will have a major difference, but for the most part it doesn't. Warriors of Fate, obviously they basically just made up some random bullshit story and they removed all the Three Kingdoms references. This game was actually based on a Japanese manga, so if you play the Japanese version you get all those references, otherwise you don't. Other than that, I think the other stuff is pretty similar. You can definitely look up the differences for that on your own time. So you can change the player mode. If you're playing online, this is how you can kind of limit how many people are able to join. Pretty standard 8-star difficulty. Just like the arcade, you can change the extends, things like that. There's also a controller setting. Obviously these were 2 or 3 button games, so now that we have all these extra buttons, you can actually remap things where you can add extra functions. If you don't want to do the Super Joy manually, if you're playing on the small Joy-Cons or something, you just want to push an extra button, you can. Now for Final Fight, they actually have a way to lower the rank. Rank is an old school arcade term, meaning that the longer you played on one credit, the harder the game would get, obviously to get more money out of you. So it's pretty cool that you can actually tone that down to make the game a bit more fair. Final Fight in particular has a lot of ways to just, fuck you up and make you lose your credit. So you can kind of mitigate that a little bit with this rank thing here. So I'm going to play a little bit of Battle Circuit, and then I'll go into how the online works.
No problem.
This game is definitely pretty cool with the upgradable moveset. It's pretty revolutionary at the time. So the first thing I should probably show is that there's save states here. Obviously all these games are around an hour long, give or take, depending on how good you are or how much you credit feed and stuff like that. So you can actually save the game and come back at any time, which is nice, especially on this version. If you want to play something else, someone's calling you to play another game or something, then you can pretty much just save the state and return. So let me go ahead and show that off really quick. I'll back out and show the whole process. You only get one save state, so it's not like as in-depth as, you know, playing this on an emulator would be, but I think it's a pretty good feature since these games are still kind of long for a single session and they weren't really designed with, you know, saving in mind. I did much better in my first time playing this in a long time than I am right now. Good old curse of recording yourself playing a game. Yeah, it's whatever. I think it took me like 10 credits to finish this the first time anyway, so it's not like I have any real skill here. It's pretty much just beat 'em up fundamentals. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and back out and talk about the online. Now, the good news is that all the games have net play, and it's actually pretty easy to jump into the game. The bad news is that I saw someone else report this as well. If you play with more than 2 people, then the game seems to be pretty laggy, which is unfortunate because some of these games have 3 or even 4-player co-op. I guess that's just something wrong with the netcode, but I imagine most people are just going to be playing this with one other person anyway, so really depends how much of an issue that is to you. So you can join the games as they're going on. So you can basically join as a spectator, and then you can choose to push start if there's a player slot available, and go from there. There's also lobbies too. So you can have a bunch of people spectating and then a couple people playing. I'm not going to go ahead and disrupt these people's games to show how rough it can get, but I joined like 3 or 4 games before I made this video, and it definitely, like, the only ones that were really playable were the ones with only one other person. Other than that, it was like kind of a slideshow. It felt really choppy. So I assume that the netcode needs some work. I can't really comment on the other versions. The PC version got delayed for whatever reason. I imagine that one will probably have the best netcode. Also, they kind of picked a non-ideal day to release this because obviously the Nintendo Switch is getting the paid online service today, and it's going in maintenance in like 3 hours. So that's probably impacting things a little bit too. Now, the last thing I'll talk about. If you watch these credits, you notice that there's like no other porting studio mentioned. Obviously, there's been a lot of drama and disappointment with the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection and the Mega Man X Legacy Collection. The latter having pretty bad input lag, and the former having a bunch of issues I don't really know much about. They basically did this version in-house, so I guess they're tired of having to deal with other people screwing up their games. So that's probably one of the reasons why this is such a good port. However, the netcode seems to be pretty concerning right now if you're going to be playing with more than one person. Hopefully we'll get some more you know, feedback about that. The game's only been out for like 5 hours, so I'm sure people will do more in-depth, you know, reports about the input lag and the netcode and stuff like that, but right now there's not really a whole lot of resources available to do that at this time. So if I have any enjoyable experiences with more than 2 players, I'll definitely let you guys know. Anyway, hope that helps you make an educated purchasing decision. Overall, my experience with this game has been pretty good, aside from just joining lobbies and having it be laggy, but you never know. Obviously with the Switch, everybody's playing on wireless, so that's definitely a factor as well, or rather it can be, depending on the connection speed and stuff like that. So hopefully, you know, we'll hear some more good reports about the netcode on the other versions, but for now, that's pretty much all I've got. Thanks for watching. Peace.